Living with Fabry disease affects every part of us, our bodies, our hands, and our feet, the pain, the exhaustion, our minds, where we may often sometimes find ourselves feeling afraid and alone, and our overall sense of well-being, where we need to find the inner strength to keep going every day. And that's why we are here. My name is Rowena, and I am joined by Maurice and Sean. We all live with Fabry. We have each managed through the journey to diagnose and the struggle to accept our disease, and we have varying experiences in how we have learned to live with it. Welcome to Living with Fabry, a holistic approach. Maurice, Sean, and I would like to help you rethink Fabry disease. We will discuss our struggles and how we overcome our day-to-day challenges. Although our stories are different, we have one goal: to share how we are living with Fabry from a holistic approach. Let's get started.
I was diagnosed at the age of 31, so about 11 years ago. And before I was diagnosed, I didn't know anything was wrong with me, and I would really just push myself to keep up with people, and I would get really bad off with my heat exhaustion, and it got a lot better once I did know that I had this disease, and I could take precautions, stay out of the heat more, and drink a lot of water. I like to splash a lot of water on my face. I don't try to go to those events outside in the middle of summer that I used to go to. I do have a son, and I wanted to be involved with his life as much as possible. So I had him in sports, and I even coached his soccer team one year, and that was really rough for me, but I wanted to be there for my son, and I wouldn't do that anymore because that was probably pretty dangerous for me. I don't know, it's limited me in other ways. The heat intolerance and not being able to sweat. When I work on my yard, I have to get out there really early in the morning or wait till the sun goes down, and just can't be out there in the middle of summer during the day.
I would agree with Sean. A lot of it has to do with pain, heat intolerance, cold intolerance. A simple cold could go ahead and can throw my body into a complete flare-up of just having an entire pain crisis. At that point, it kind of goes into the mental aspect of things, of dealing with everything that the body is feeling. So then you start dealing with the mental aspect, the emotional aspect. So it kind of starts flaring into a big snowball of a downward spiral of just things that are not good.
For myself, the Fabry symptoms that I experience, living in the Pacific Northwest, the weather is not so stable. So yes, just like Maurice and Sean, it's the heat and the cold. On a daily basis, I have to prepare myself and make sure I have layers of clothing. So if it gets too cold, I have something to bundle myself in. If it gets too hot, I can remove clothing. But another aspect is just exhaustion on a day-to-day basis, because I'm one of those people that tries to fill up my calendar day and just keep going and going. And, I really have to remind myself to assess maybe like around 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, can I keep going, or can I take a little bit of a nap and rest? And then how long is my day going to be? Am I going to need to recharge? Or can I just say, you know what, it's too much for me. I just gotta lay down and go to bed.
Every day is so different. One day could be a great day, and the next day it could be a not so great day. And trying to adjust into the everyday of how the body feels, I think, as Rowena had explained, feeling the exhaustion as Sean has said, also being cautious of how the weather conditions. One thing that my kids are not able to do is play outdoor sports, just because of the fact that if it is in an extreme heat environment, and I'm out there, more than likely, I already know I'm going to have to pay the consequences for being outside and as being supportive. And that's where I guess we have to choose and pick our battles of how much do I want my body to go through and how much am I willing to tolerate to be there. So we had to make those adjustments and doing more of an indoor thing. And having my kids do either some sort of more of the art music type of things as opposed to outdoor sports, or if it's going to be a sport, let it be an indoor sport, which is kind of rare, except maybe one or two sports. And for instance, our bike rides either have to be at 6:30 in the morning, or they have to be later in the evening. Our walks have to be the same if my body permits it and allows it. So it's a constant reevaluation of how the body feels and a constant readjusting of what we're going to be able to do.
I tend to be forgetful, and I've learned little tricks to help me remember things, and well, I guess it helps a little bit. Yeah, and I guess it affects my focus also. I don't seem to think clearly a lot of times when I'm like cooking dinner or things like that, and I get distracted a lot, but I don't know how much that has to do with Fabry fog.
It used to take me down a place of being angry, being upset, frustrated, that these symptoms were limiting me, and the pain is that it puts you at this debilitating place that you start getting to this place of a really depressed mindset. And you may think you really you're not depressed, and you may think you're not angry. But after really seeing seeing where I was and where those things were taking me, you see that it is anger. It is, if I'm going to be extremely honest, almost at a point where it's bitterness. Because why you start asking, I used to ask myself, why do I have to go through these things? Why do other people get to enjoy their time with their family? Why do they get to go on outings? Why aren't they having limitations like my family is having? And so when I mean by anger, just to elaborate, that's exactly how I got to that place of being angry. You begin to feel like life was unfair. Like, this is not right. It's not right. My kids shouldn't have to live like this. My wife shouldn't have to put up with this in a sense. And so it starts messing with you mentally, of I'm not good enough. My wife deserves somebody better. My kids deserve a better dad. And I can't speak for everybody. I'm just speaking on my behalf. But that's how far my mind, my mental state was getting into. It was just a complete transpire of just really negative thoughts that were just going through my mind.
Well, I think the struggle for me was that I was adopted. I was adopted into family, but being Filipino in the Philippines, medical care and health records weren't really, there wasn't much importance placed on it. And so growing up in the United States, with family, I wasn't diagnosed until I was 30. And by that time, my son was born. And, emotionally and mentally, I was angry, just like what Maurice was saying, because I didn't know what my health history was, and here I am passing it on to my son. And, I noticed a few symptoms that were different than mine, but, just watching him be in pain, for a mom, that just kills me, because I couldn't comfort him. I could just hold his hand and, tell him to breathe through the pain, try and get some pain meds. But, it was just watching him go through it. And that was, as a mom, really, really tough.
I lived the first 31 years of my life without knowing I had this disease, so there was nothing to really accept. And once I was diagnosed and I had a reason as to why I felt the way I did my whole life, I accepted the diagnosis of Fabry disease pretty quickly, because I always knew something had to be wrong with me. I'd say about after 5 years of treatment, I started to feel better. I stopped having as many pain crises, and I started feeling like I could actually do this and live my life how I want to, and not let these limitations hold me back.
I could say the turning point for me was most of my family is in California. And so I have this cousin, and she is like my champion. She's very much like a sister to me. And she knew I was diagnosed. She knew I had infusions. But she was probably going through her own, when you're turning 40 and you're like, okay, what purpose do I have in life? So I think to encourage her as well, she actually challenged me to do a half marathon with her. And I was like, no, there's no way, not with Fabry, not not being able to sweat. I'm like, are you kidding? But she said, I'm turning 40. I need to do something with my life. I need to, get healthy. She said, you can do it with me. And she also knows I'm a competitive person, even though I'm not athletic. So she would call me daily. She would send me text messages of her on the treadmill. And fortunately, she gave me like a 5-month, training on doing this half marathon. And it was her first as well. So she was basically my cheerleader. And, I would go out early in the morning and she would just say, hey, how far did you go? And she would just say, can you go a little bit longer? Can you do a little more? And I think with their encouragement, there were times along the way where I was breathless. I would call my husband to pick me up because I couldn't do the extra mile that, on the training schedule. But what that taught me was, one, I'm out there on my own, so I have to rely on myself. I have to really listen to my body. And then 2, it's okay to take a rest day, and 3, it kind of makes you prioritize things in life. And so for me, it was like, okay, in the morning, I have to, do an hour of, treadmill. And then in the afternoon, I have to find time to, maybe walk around the block. And that encouraged me to start telling people, hey, I have a commitment to this. And I'm not a very good person with my family or my friends where I tell them, no, I can't do it. And by doing this half marathon with her, it made me say, okay, well, I got to do this first. And so because of it, it's kind of taught me life lessons. And so, if I can't do it, I can't do it, and then the other part of it too is, it's such a cliche where they say one step at a time, one day at a time. It's so true. And it's not just for the half marathon, it's for anything in life. Because after that, I was able to go back to school and complete my master's degree. And it was one of those where it's one day at a time, one step at a time, and so I think that's what has helped me move on. And it's still a roller coaster of emotions because there's all sorts of situations that's thrown at us. But I always think of that, it's okay, one step at a time, one day at a time, you'll get there.
I had to get past that place of being afraid. Of being afraid of what was going to come, being afraid of the unknown. And I think that's a lot of what I was facing is having the fear hold me back of, okay, my kids want to do here, but you know what? I can't let them do this because I'm afraid this is what's going to be. And I guess the turning point was letting go of fear. That was a really turning point of letting go of the fear that was holding me back. So in 2018, I had a stroke. And I remember my body going through something that I've never experienced before. And I remember looking at my wife and saying, will you just tell the kids how much I love them? Will you let them know how much I enjoyed this day with them and how much I love seeing them smile? Will you forever hold in your heart knowing that I love you? And how much you mean to me, and how special you are to me. And I just remember the ambulance coming, and I couldn't move, I couldn't talk anymore. I couldn't feel anything on the left side. And I remember as I was going to the hospital, I was like, Lord, please, not like this, don't leave me like this, please, don't. Not today, please, not ever. And after being there for quite some time, I remember getting into this place of where I found myself before, depressed, hopeless, helpless, afraid, angry. And I remember that just constantly asking God to please change something, turn it around. After being there for 2 days, I kind of just let go. I don't know if that makes sense, but you just let go of everything. You just say whatever it's going to be is what's going to be. And I don't know if that's a good place to be in or if that's a bad place, but I just remember I was done. And not giving up, but just done as far as whatever was trying to take place. And I just remember at that point that I said, well, Lord, whatever it's going to be, I'm okay with. And that's where I was at. Okay, whatever it's going to be, Lord, I'm okay with that. And I just remember hearing that you either choose life or choose death. And if you choose death, that's exactly what it'll end with, in death. And I didn't understand exactly why I heard that. I don't exactly know why that came in. But I remember that I chose life. And it was at that turning point that I decided to go ahead and not let anything not let anything hold me back. It's not just abandoning fear, but it's abandoning depression, anger, abandoning what the mind what the mind tries to limit us. It was about breaking through of every wall that was surrounding me, to saying you can't do this, you can't do that, this is who you are. And it was at that point that it was breaking through every barrier of wall that was saying, this is who I am. This is what Fabry disease says who I am. I'm not letting it define me. I'm not letting it hold me back from living life at its full capacity.
I definitely check the weather when I wake up. If it's going to be a hot day, I know it's a day to plan indoor activities and try not to be outside much. But I definitely take advantage of the good days. And I definitely have learned where my limits lie, and what activities I can do when I'm feeling a certain way. So I may push myself a little here and there, but not like I used to. When I didn't know I had this disease, I thought that I should be able to keep up with everybody and do everything the same as everybody else. So I push myself beyond my limits a lot of times. These days, now that I know I have Fabry disease, I try not to push myself past my limits, and I take certain precautions. With the heat, there's certain precautions that I take. I know going places I need to stay cool if I'm going to be outside, so I do have a cooling vest that I use. I've used a couple times, but I just basically need to stay wet, so I'll bring spray bottles with me. Since I don't sweat, my face is really dry and super bright red when I'm out in the heat, so just a little spray bottle of water, that does a lot for me. Naps, definitely, those are definitely good. With the brain fog, I do a lot of certain things to help me remember things, taking notes, things like that.
I literally set aside a time that we're going to go ahead and do. If it's going to be a bike ride, I set aside 30, 45 minutes. And it might sound for a short a period of time, but in reality, that's 30 or 45 minutes that our body gets a movement and our heart gets to be able to pump and things like that. And it does have to be early in the morning to adjust to the weather inclements that our bodies can't tolerate. So if it has to be at 6:30 in the morning before the kids go to school, then it's at 6:30 in the morning that we ride our bikes. If my body is too exhausted, and is not able to do something so strenuous such as that, a simple walk, 30 minutes of a simple walk, is sufficient enough for me. And if it's anything that's indoors, I pretty much try to do maybe like a few push-ups if my body can. If not, then I'm okay with whatever. At least I was able to do some sort of an exercise activity. And the thing is, it's not every day, and it's not every other day. It's whenever my body allows me to go ahead and actually do it. And I think that's what the terms that I've come to is, it's okay if I can't every single day. I'm okay with that. As long as I'm doing something that allows my body to get some sort of physical activity and let my heart continue to pump, that's the most important thing. I'm not so hard on myself where I was before. So I had to come with terms of that as well.
It's okay to allow yourself rest, forgive yourself for not being able to do what, everybody else does. Because I've had to go through that myself. I've had to tell myself, this is for me, I can't survive, and take care of my kids if I keep pushing myself beyond my limits. And so I think that they're old enough now and they've seen enough that, or even my son who's experienced a pain crisis where that it's okay, take your mental health day, take your, I have to shut the world away day or two. Give yourself time to reassess, whether it's, at noon or at 3 p.m. when you get home before you go out to dinner. Give yourself that moment to just assess yourself, both mentally, physically. Take a nap if you have to. I remember growing up, I hated naps because I wanted to be doing everything and anything. But now that I'm a little older and I know like my kids have all these stuff going on, they can go until 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. Take that little nap, Also, it's okay to miss things. It's okay to miss events. My husband and the kids and the extended family, every summer they go to Eastern Washington where it's a lot hotter. I used to go. 5 years ago, I stopped because the heat was just too much for me. And at first, I was pretty upset doing that. But now I actually look forward to that 3-day weekend where I have the entire house to myself and I can do whatever I want, whether it's just staying in bed all day and not do anything and watch TV, or, calling all my friends and say, hey, let's go out. So it's okay. It's okay. Forgive yourself, take that rest day. Like what Maurice was saying, listen to yourself.
I try to set goals that are reachable for myself. And for instance, a productive day for me, as simple as it may be, is being able to wake up, get ready, take my kids to school, come home, and be able to do the things that I need to. Whether my body allows me to help my wife and do laundry or prep dinner or whatever it may be, and then going and picking them up. If I met that, to me, that was a productive day. I know it might sound silly, but mentally, what it does is it allows me to know that I accomplished something today. I accomplished what I had set for myself, and I think setting up little goals such as that allows you to see a lot more accomplishments and less failures.
Yeah, there were dark days, but I'm one of those that like to hide away and not really share that with people, except for my closest circle. And those within my circle, just cheer me on, and they say, we're here for you when you're ready. And that's really something that I needed to hear, because even though they don't understand, right? They don't understand the pain. They don't understand, all the things that are going through your head. They understand that I will at some point, come out and, tell them, okay, I'm ready to go, So I think the biggest thing too is just being able to communicate all that within my inner circle. And I know that I can rely on them.
It's my wife. She's been so strong and such a rock in my life. I don't think I could ever have gone through that much in my life without her. She's been my main source of encouragement. And then when my kids came in and they found out exactly everything that happens and what Fabry disease does, and seeing me go through the most difficult times and then having them encourage me, it is, I think I know Rowena is absolutely correct in making sure that inner circle that you have is so needed. It's so important. It's so vital to make sure that you have those who are there to support you.
I turned to my husband. He's promised me that at least once a day he would make me laugh. So I just turn to him if he knows, I'm going through something. And he just knows that look I give him, and he just makes me laugh.
My son brings a lot of happiness into my life, and he gave me more reason to fight and more reason to try and be healthy. And I just look at it as everything I'm doing is for him, and it makes it easier.
It's definitely all about communication. It really is, because nobody can really know what you're going through. Yes, they can see it physically. And, sometimes it's a little too late, when you do say something and it comes out in anger and you don't want to hurt their feelings, right? But when I know I'm like at 80% and, I'm getting near that 100% where I'm just so exhausted, I definitely start communicating and start saying, hey, I'm getting really tired. I need time alone. They have learned to listen to that. My family understands, okay. Then all the questions come out and go, okay, well, do you think you have enough energy to go to dinner, or do we just do dinner at home? Communication is definitely key within my family. even if I push myself, I know how much I can push myself. If I negotiate with my family and go, okay, well, here's the thing, and so there's a little bit of negotiation going back and forth, but I mean, it's always that honest communication.
I try to communicate with my family how I'm feeling. If I feel like I can make a dinner over at their house or not. And I just try to communicate all the time how I'm feeling with them, and they understand.
My family is pretty much the same way as Rowena and Sean. They're understanding. So if there's going to be a family gathering, they won't do it until the late evening, maybe 5:30, 6 o'clock. And if it's still even too hot, then they'll move things indoors. So they're really understanding. But I do believe that Rowena and Sean hit it exactly right, the nail on the head with saying that communication is key. No one knows how you're feeling on the inside, though we look perfectly on the outside. What may be going on the inside is so much different. So being able to come to a place and being honest and share exactly what's going on allows people to come to a different level of understanding and know where you're coming from.
I incorporate my health team, and I give them a heads up and I say, hey, I heard about this or that, whether it's diet, some diet fad or some, new treatment that is coming around. I involve them. And that's what I love about my health team is I can just email them and ask them questions. And, I go from there.
Start the day with a positive mindset. That's what I do. I try to look at where I want my day to be. Even as difficult as it is, I have to change my mindset. If I wake up and I'm feeling that, well, I have a little bit of pain, I have to readjust my mindset and myself of where I want my day to lead to and what kind of day that's going to look like for me. I try to fill myself with things that are good. I try to fill myself with things that encourage me, music, reading. It doesn't have to be anything that's just spiritual. Just read something that's going to encourage you. Read something that's going to speak life into you, that's going to change that mindset of being angry or dealing with what you're dealing with. I try to prepare myself mentally before every day just to make sure that I'm right in my mind, and whatever is happening inside internally doesn't reflect outwardly into my kids and into my wife and to my friends and those who I might come in contact with.
For the most part, where I'm at in life now is that I look to the positives more than I do the negatives because there's so much that's happened in my life. There's been deaths, divorce, and those are huge things in life. And even, with the whole diagnosis of, having this disease, that brought me to a dark place. But, going through the journey and, realizing that I can, I can rely on myself. Things are okay, as long as I, forgive myself. I think that has brought me to just looking at little things in life that happen on a daily basis that they're just little things, So a lot like what Maurice said it is that mindset.
I like to be outdoors, so when I do take advantage of the nice days and get outside and go hiking and things like that. So it brings me a lot of positivity and happiness when I can get out and do things like that.
I constantly have to check myself. And I mean constantly. Where's my mind? Where's my heart? I really have to evaluate where I am, because a morning can go great. Things can go in a direction that we wanted to, and then there's those hiccups, those things that where we reach these roadblocks, and unfortunately, they happen a lot more than what I would like them to. And it's about reflecting again of where I am and taking the time to really decompress myself, and to reorganize myself and to change my mentality again. Um, One of the things that, when I'm not feeling well, and the kids might need my help with homework, or my wife might need my help with something that she can't do on her own. If I'm doing okay, but yet mentally I'm somewhere else, I have to take that time to pull myself away from the family completely and just readjust myself, reorganize my mind, and just again check myself where I am and change that. And it's not easy. It took years, but then again, it's in those little things where you start to become thankful, and you start and in those little things you start to be like, okay, yes, this is how I'm feeling today, this is what's going on, but I know that's just temporary. How temporary, I don't know, but I know that this will pass. I know this is how I feel, and this is where I'm, where things will be.
If I were to meet somebody who's newly diagnosed, I would say, allow yourself to grieve, to be sad, but know that there are others like you, and that there's a lot of resources.
Social media, I think, helps out a lot. Just talking to other people with Fabry disease and hearing what they have to say. Going to the conferences, meeting other people in person, and talking to other people that have Fabry disease, just connecting with them and hearing their stories and the similar things they've gone through. Just being involved in the Fabry community really helps out a lot. Before my diagnosis, I felt a lot of isolation when I was in my long pain crises, and I couldn't explain to people what was going on. I had no reason as to why I was feeling that way. That's when I really felt my isolation. So getting diagnosed and meeting other people who've dealt with this has really helped.
And surround yourselves with people who are going to encourage you as well, and they're going to speak life into you. I think that's one thing that I found so vital is to surround myself with people who are going to encourage me, people who are going to love on me, people who are going to help me. Building a close relationship with people outside my family, such as people within the prayer team within my church, my pastor, friends who have helped encourage me.
I was really fortunate, and I'm still fortunate to be where I'm at here in Washington, because our geneticists and researchers that focus on Fabry actually started introducing us to a wide network of people. And I think the most helpful one that we came across was NFDF. And the reason for that is it not only included, Fabry patients, but families as well and children. And they invited us to attend Fabry Camp for Kids. And I think that's what has helped me to not feel so guilty, that I have this disease and my children have it. And seeing other family members and or other families that have Fabry and their kids, and just being able to go to this camp for a weekend, and we all are experiencing the same things, the same frustrations, the same day-to-day, limitations. And so being part of that network has really helped me. And then from that, it actually grew because part of the Fabry camp, the first day you're also introduced to other companies that are looking at, treatments that are up and coming, and you get to talk to their doctors and, their researchers. And, for myself as a parent with kids who have Fabry, it gives me hope that there's more out there. They're not just stuck with one type of treatment that I'm in. And so just being able to know there's resources out there, I think it's really beneficial. And when you go on social media and you join, these organizations, and parents like myself are, making comments, hey, do you experience this? Or have you heard this? Or, what do you think about this? It doesn't make you feel lonely anymore, and you're not alone. And I think that, even though we're all in different parts of the world or in, the United States, it's nice to just actually be able to reach out and go, okay, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one experiencing this.
Don't give up. Don't give up. Know that there's still so much to live for. There's still so much meaning in your life. There's still so much breath in you that you will at one point be able to share your story that's going to be able to encourage other people. Persevere and push through so that you can be that example and be that help to somebody else.
My son inspires me to keep going because I have to keep going for him. I have to get up every morning, get him ready for the day. I can't be laying around being completely unproductive every day. I want to seem as strong as I can to him. And I want him to be happy. So I do everything I can to give myself the best chance to be around as long as possible for him.
My biggest inspiration and what keeps me going are my children. My son especially, because he has the pain crisis, and he's young enough where, and he's living in a time where, there's a lot of research on Fabry and treatments are coming out. So he inspires me to, read up on these new, treatments and options. Who inspires me or motivates me are my cousin and my husband. They're my biggest cheerleader, and they keep me going day in, day out.
My wife and kids, they day in and day out inspire me. It's amazing that regardless of whatever I'm going through, that they still stay positive, and encourage me to continue to push through. And my wife, she is an amazing woman. She has put up through so much with me, and yet she still loves on me that much more. And that inspires me to be that much more loving and forgiving to myself when I'm not that good to myself.
By getting up and being active during the day, speaking to friends, keeping in touch with family and friends. I like to take a walk at some point during the day, maybe a hike, go somewhere really cool to take a walk. I do take my naps that I need to take, but I try not to take too many of them. I make sure to get up and cook food for myself and my son every single day.
Nourishment for me on a daily basis is seeing my family laugh. because seeing that joy just keeps me going. But in terms of self-care, it's where I don't have to make dinner or a meal. And so, if I get pampered, that's an awesome day.
I try to do a silly dance every single day. I know it sounds dumb, and I probably look even really dumb, but it's having a single dance just and showing your kids just allows it to just celebrate life. I think that's what it is. It's just about celebrating life for me. For me, self-nourishment is just celebrating life and doing the littlest things, whether silly or obnoxious, however it may seem. That's what it is for me. Just making sure that that there's a smile that is taking place, and I think a lot of it goes with something that I've held on to, that a cheerful face brings joy to the heart. So I hold on to that, and I try to make sure that I stick to that regardless of whatever it is I look silly doing.
Forgive yourself if you can't, do the things that you want to do or what others are asking of you. And it's okay to say no. And finally, find your inner circle. Have those people that you can count on and cheer you on and help you through your darkest moments.
Persevere through the challenging seasons in your life. Push through. Surround yourselves with those who are going to encourage you and lift you up. And be honest. Be honest and share how you're feeling. It's okay to be vulnerable and be transparent. It allows people to love on you that much more.
Education, community, and support. Just learning about the disease and knowing about it helped a lot. And meeting other people with Fabry disease and hearing their stories and talking to them, that helps you connect with other people and really understand that other people have felt the way that you felt. And then having a good support system, having open communication with them, and people are there to help you. People want to help you, but they can't help you if they don't know you need help. So you need to voice your pains.
For those living with Fabry disease, there are many struggles that we go through. Thank you all for joining Maurice, Sean, and I as we talked about how we delved into how we break through, the mind, body, and soul of living with this disease.
Thank you for joining us. We hope that the words that were spoken were able to encourage you. We're able to bring light into things that were once you were darkened by, and to know that your life has a greater destiny than where you think it just might be.
Receiving a diagnosis of Fabry disease can be a very overwhelming thing. It could be a big answer to a lot of questions you've had throughout your life. And there's a lot of things that come with having Fabry disease that can really affect your mind and your emotions. But there are ways of dealing with it, and I hope we've helped you to realize that you don't have to sit there and dwell on it and get depressed about it, that there are things to be positive about, and you can push through it and live a good life with this disease.